All right, what's going on, guys? This Simple Sports back again, and obviously, I know it's been a while since I've done an upload. I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain anymore. Time-wise, it's just not convenient at the moment to just do these on a daily basis. So many things I got going on, and until I can get a bigger following and take away from other things, I have to upload when I can. So, with that being said. Let's just get right into it. This is not going to be a long video. At least I'm gonna try to not make it a long video. But I did want to talk about the whole Kyrie Irving trade that finally went down. Um, Basically, if you are living under a rock, Kyrie Irving. Long story short, without all the details, Kyrie Irving just got traded for Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and a pick, and I forget the other guy's name. Zizic or whatever his name is, Zizic. I don't know. I really don't care. And I want to talk about two things in particular. One, I want to talk about sort of what everyone's talking about, which is who won the trade, in a sense. And two, I want to talk about what no one is talking about, or at least not from what I see, is the impact that this trade will have both on next year and, let's say, the next 5 years, right? Because there is an impact I see that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. So first, let's talk about just the overall trade itself. I think it's a good trade. Couple things. Obviously, the Cavs had to trade Kyrie Irving before the season started. You just couldn't take that toxicity. I don't even know if that's a word. I just made it up if not. But you couldn't take that toxicity into the locker room for the regular season. I don't know how toxic it is, I guess, on a personal level. It doesn't appear to be like bad blood per se. It just, to me, seems to be two people that just don't quite see eye to eye on the whole situation. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but still, you couldn't let that go into the season. You had to trade him. It's reality. So I'll say this. I think both teams won in the end, just from looking at it on paper. The Celtics gave up Jay Crowder and Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, they didn't want to pay. And Jay Crowder, to me, is pretty dismissible. There's people saying he could be a defensive stopper. He can guard KD when they get to the finals. No. Okay, LeBron couldn't guard KD. Okay, so Jay Crowder is not going to guard KD. Can he bother him? Can he at least spell LeBron for a little bit? Sure, but he can't guard him. So let's not get it twisted here. Secondly, the Cavs get the first-round pick from Brooklyn, which we all pretty much expect to be a pretty high pick, a lottery pick. So for the future, that's a good thing. If your goal is to rebuild potentially for the future, then that's a good pickup for the trade. However, if you think LeBron's staying, that's not good because he doesn't want a young guy. He doesn't want a rookie in his 15th and 16th year. That's just not what he wants. He wants to either win now or be extremely marketable, neither of which can be done with a rookie. So that's just the reality of the situation. And then finally, for Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, which is pretty much the meat of the trade, I like it for both teams. I think Kyrie Irving's a better player. You have two players who are what people like to call a defensive liability, although I think Kyrie Irving's defense, when he plays defense, is underrated. People do tend to forget that he did play some pretty good defense on Steph in 2016, along with, Tristan and a couple other guys that were switching off and whatnot. But Kyrie put in the work. Don't get it twisted. All right, he's not James Harden of 2 or 3 years ago. Like, he plays some defense, maybe sparingly, but when he does, he can be okay. Especially when you got a guy that's his size. Steph might be a little bit longer, but for the most part, they're the same size. So you got two defensive liabilities in Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, so I don't think that's an issue. They both are ISO scorers, so the Cavs pretty much gave up one ISO scorer for another. So in that regard, the Cavs won. They didn't lose anything per se, at least on paper. And the Celtics got a guy who they don't have to pay for 2 years for one. So if he actually does work out with Gordon Hayward, maybe you're actually able to keep a Kyrie Irving who you acquired through trade for a 5'9" point guard who has a year left on his contract, who you basically have to pay immediately. You get Kyrie Irving, who's just entering his prime. So you could argue he's got at least 5 to 7 good years if you're able to get him to stick around that long. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out with Gordon Hayward. So I think the Celtics, quote unquote, won more of the trade than the Cavs did, but I don't necessarily think the Cavs lost the trade. Just from a personnel standpoint, I think they pretty much both got what they wanted / needed, or at least the Cavs got as much as they could have gotten from the trade. So personnel-wise and on paper, I think they both won. I think it's pretty much I don't want to say it's a wash, but it's pretty much a wash. It's pretty close to it. Now, what I do want to talk about is the impact that this could have, and it comes from a couple different places. One, from a news standpoint and from an entertainment standpoint, this could be epic. It could be amazing because looking at the teams on paper, for me, I still think the Cavs are the better team, but I think that Celtics-Cavs series is now a 7-game series. Maybe 6 games. I don't know. We'll see what other moves and trades or free agent signings or what have you that can be done, if there are any that can be made to boost either team. But I think that is a lot closer than it was last year. 6, maybe 7 games, depending on how, everyone plays together. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So it does make the Eastern Conference Finals a little more interesting, assuming they both get back there as a 1 and 2 seed, which I tend to think that they will. Secondly, you have the perspective of, is LeBron James leaving? He could. And if he does, that gives the Celtics a pretty clear run to the finals, which is obviously a good thing for their team. But what it also gives you is a little more balance in the Eastern Conference, albeit 2 teams. It's still a little more balanced, a little more competitive. But if LeBron leaves, the Cavs are stuck with a fairly old roster and then a couple pieces that they can get rid of. Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas only has 1 year left on his deal, so if LeBron leaves, maybe you let Isaiah leave as well, clear all that room for players, and now you can sort of hit the reset button with that first round pick. Maybe package that with like a Kevin Love and get another star, and then draft another guy, like trade for a young star, and then draft another guy, and then you can sort of rebuild and hit the reset button from there. The biggest impact, the most immediate impact, is on the Cavs-Celtics rematch, or what I'm assuming to be rematch in the finals next year, Eastern Conference Finals. And no one's talking about what this could potentially do to both Kyrie and LeBron's legacy. All right, so think about it this way. Let's assume they both meet next year in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Cavs beat the Celtics. Now you have all of the LeBron supporters and the people who are sort of against Kyrie in this case, and the Cavs fans and all of that stuff, basically saying, aha, see, we told you so. And the media saying the same thing to Kyrie, aha, we told you so. You should have stayed and played with LeBron James. Who leaves LeBron James? Which I get from a certain perspective, but at the same time, if Kyrie wants to leave, let the guy go. Let him do his thing. And so you have essentially the aha, I told you so crowd if the Cavs win. But if they lose to the Celtics and Kyrie Irving, oh my God, could you imagine the story and the media frenzy that would cause if the Celtics, let's say they go 7 games next year and they beat the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. Think about all the things that are happening. Number one, the obvious, Celtics beat the Cavs. The Cavs no longer go to the finals, so it won't be the 4th year in a row. And it also be the first time in, 8 years that LeBron has been eliminated before the finals, which It's a little suspect as it is, considering the competition. But regardless, it's still the streak. The streak is still there. It still exists. And for them to end that, that's sort of one of LeBron James' supporters' selling points on why he is the best, is because he's gone to 7 straight and assuming 8 straight finals next year. So you lose that oomph with that story or that perspective, that point of view on LeBron James. Secondly, it could be actually pretty damaging to LeBron's legacy, right? Think about it. The whole situation is because he and Kyrie basically don't see eye to eye, or Kyrie and the Cavs as a whole don't see eye to eye. He wants out. He gets traded. Everyone's calling him stupid and dumb, and why do you leave LeBron? And then he turns around and beats LeBron. He's already got a ring. Like, so many positive things come out of that for Kyrie. You just beat the guy who basically you didn't want to play with, and now you sort of, quote-unquote, prove to everyone why you leaving was the best option for yourself and your family and all of that stuff. So you beat LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals. You bring the Celtics back to relevancy. Okay, now they're in the finals. They're not in the Eastern Conference Finals. The finals are a big deal, obviously. So you take the Celtics back to relevancy, like, you know, Paul Pierce and KG and Ray Allen did. And LeBron James could, quite frankly, disappear into the sea of the NBA, because let's say he does get beat by the Celtics. He decides, you know what, I don't want to be in Cleveland anymore. This team is not working. And maybe he goes elsewhere, whether it be East or West. And let's say he never makes another finals, which is very possible if he leaves Cleveland. There's a good chance that he never makes it to the finals again, given the structure of the rest of the NBA and how little time LeBron has left. He doesn't have 10 years left, okay? So you have to keep that in mind as well. So that's something that could possibly take place. And then, like, it could change a lot of people's perspectives on LeBron James if that were to happen. Obviously, we don't know yet, but that could change a lot of people's perspective on LeBron James and his overall legacy. It's like, wow, you had this guy on your team who a lot of people considered the closer of the team, the second best player on the team, and sort of, I don't want to say the heart of the team, but he's kind of like, there are a lot of people that fear fear Kyrie more, especially late in games, than they do LeBron James. And you turn around and lose to him after you basically traded him. Well, you didn't basically trade him, you did trade him. But I mean, when I say that, I mean LeBron traded him, not the Cavs traded him. But that's assuming everyone is still saying LeBron's the GM and he makes all the calls, all that stuff. So depends on what side of the fence you fall on in that regard. That could be damaging to LeBron James's legacy. It really could be. And no one is really talking about that. And maybe that'll be brought up later just because this is obviously super fresh news, but who knows? And then lastly, the impact it could have on other teams, especially in the Western Conference. Because think about it. You have 2 players now in the Celtics who are in their prime. So they're going to be there if all goes well and they re-sign and all that good stuff for the next 5 to 7 years. And if LeBron James leaves, maybe he goes to the Lakers and maybe they try to build a championship team. And if they happen to do so in quick order and get to the finals, and they can match up Lakers versus Celtics again, like, you know, Kobe and the Lakers did a couple years ago, and then obviously the stories that they've had for years in the NBA, if they're able to recreate that with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving versus each other, man, that could be pretty epic. And then a more general point, but you do realize that the Cavs traded their second best player to an in-conference rival who you just beat in the Eastern Conference Finals. You then turn around and gave them your second best player and are most likely going to be matched up against them again. So there's a lot of different interesting storylines. The one I like the most is the Lakers-Celtics thing, although that's pretty far-fetched, but that could be really cool for the NBA. Lonzo Ball, LeBron James. Lonzo Ball coming into his own in the next 2 or 3 years. Even without LeBron James, let's say the Lakers do manage to reach that success again with LeBron or with Lonzo Ball, and maybe bringing in like a Paul George, or some other free agent or two, and they actually do reach prominence again and get to the finals. That could be great for the NBA. So those are my takes on it. I just wanted to get those out there really quick. Let me know what you guys think. I'll try to be a little more consistent with the videos, at least a little more frequent, see what I can do. Again, time right now is pretty limited, but that's all I got to say about that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.